another video. I have been obsessed with the topic of targeted individuals, seeing as how I am a targeted individual. And one of the things that has crossed my mind, and I've seen targeted individuals, you know, here in the United States and Canada. I've seen some videos from people who've done videos in England and even in Germany. And I'm very interested in conducting a study on the locations of the targets. Now, I know that there's different, cities and towns in all these different countries and locations, but I think it's important to really study the geographic and the demographic areas of these places. I'm interested in knowing the intellectual abilities or the intellectual capacities of the perpetrators, not so much the education of the perpetrators, because in my experience, there's a lot of people who are professionals who've been through the gamut of college and who have received formal educations, yet this did not prevent them from being brainwashed. Mind control is a very serious issue, and I do believe that intellectual capacities supersedes educational capacities or experience when it comes to mind control. There are some people who immediately click in and start thinking, wait a second, this isn't right. And that's a very small percentage, I must say. But there are some people who would be able to use their intellectual abilities to make sure, to reason, wait a second, this person didn't do anything wrong. She's innocent. Is this even against the law? But the people who got involved never stopped to think of it. So my question is, does this happen, like for example in the United States, does it happen to people who are in rural areas where maybe there's a lot of ignorance in a location or an area? There's a lot of people who have persecuted me and not really knowing that they had no right to. I truly believe that in their heart they felt as though they were on a mission and they were doing the right thing. So I want to talk a little bit more about what it's like to be a targeted individual. Generally, targeted individuals are anyone that's seen as different. And in my case, I am a different individual. I believe that my perpetrators are family members and a small percentage of, I really don't have many friends, but the people that I used to know, I do believe have participated in this. And what's it like to be a targeted individual? It is absolutely terrifying. Because your life is in the hands of people who really don't have your best interest at heart. And that is a terrifying experience already. You get harassed a lot. You get treated like you don't have the right to even exist, even though they don't even know you. And that's the injustice that is the most terrifying and the most painful of it. I mean, I still don't know exactly. I understand it has a religious issue to it, and I also know that I had left a previous employer, but exactly what the issue is, I don't know. And I suspect it's just envy. I suspect that I have a sibling who's just competitive, and she's always been competitive, since I can remember. She's always had this ongoing competition in her mind, and I think it's terrible that a sibling or anybody can just make a phone call and change the fate of a person without any questions asked, regardless, and that's terrifying. So anyway, I want to talk more about ignorance when it comes to perpetrators and how they carry out this malicious plan on targets. I do believe that what actually is the issue is that there's ignorance of the basic understanding of human rights and the laws of one's country. If somebody was to think logically as all this was going on, the minute they got the email, the text message, the word to shun Maria and put her out of work, it never occurred to any of these people were they operating outside of the law. It never occurred to these people that did any of this have anything to do with Maria's job. Did it have anything to do, it never occurred to them that this had nothing to do with anything. I haven't done anything. So I think, I don't believe, and I will never believe, that formalized education prevents mob psychology or prevents people from being brainwashed. As animalistic thinking that goes on in a mobbing situation or gang stalking situation. A lot of people who participated will swear up and down that they are true red, white, and blue Americans, and that they love this country, and they would defend it, and they were proud of it. And, you know, I'm an American citizen. I'm an American citizen. And the people who were persecuting me are American citizens too, and I'm sure they're very proud of it, and they love this country. But I don't think they know why they love this country. Because why I've been persecuted, if they're going to bring up the topic of religion, anybody who's been to school, I would say even if you didn't have the chance to finish school, if you only received a 4th grade education, then you should know that freedom of religion is one of the reasons why we have this country. So using religion should have never, ever come into this issue at all, period. And not only that, you know, I have been accused of being a Muslim. Now, I have studied several Abrahamic religions, mainly Christianity and different forms of Christianity. I grew up in a home, I would say that my upbringing was secular. My upbringing, we did go to a Baptist church for about a year. I was really little at the time. And then earlier, prior to that, my family studied with Jehovah's Witnesses. As a teenager, I made an effort to study with Jehovah's Witnesses independently, only because there was so much information, Watchtower, Tract Society pamphlets, publications in the house, and I also had a friend who encouraged me to study, and I was more than willing to do it, and I studied with Jehovah's Witnesses for many years. I also studied the Book of Mormon, which is, I believe, another Abrahamic religion. I mean, they still acknowledge Jesus Christ and the original Godhead. And then also Christianity, regular Christianity. Now, Christianity has several different denominations, okay? And I would say that I just studied Christianity. I mean, what I mean by that is I just read the Bible, and I looked for churches that were as close to the Bible as they possibly could be. So, but studying the Muslim faith never occurred to me, and it never appealed to me. And I'm not bashing Muslims, but what people in this country don't realize is it is not against the law to be a Muslim. It is against the law to be a terrorist, which I'm not a terrorist, and I'm not a Muslim either. But there are certain people in this group that they don't realize it, but they are Christian extremists. And what I mean by Christian extremists is that they take the law into their own hands. They are working out of ignorance. They do things to people to psychologically torment and terrorize them, and what they're doing is extremely unethical. All the while looking at people who have alternative religions that do terrible things to women or anybody who's different, and they will be the first person to bash these people and look down on these people, when I personally feel what I've experienced could possibly be 10 times worse. It's a psychological trauma that I don't think I'm ever going to get over. I probably never will. So anyway, back to my interest in conducting a study. Most TIs, I mean, I would say most, but a lot of TIs are under the impression that, like, you know, there's higher levels of the government that are out to get them. I don't necessarily believe that's true. I don't think anybody higher up really gives two craps about me, okay, because I'm just a very small, basic person who stays at her home, and she goes to work, she comes home, she goes to work, and I'm interested in my little hobbies and my crafts or anything. I don't think that I have that much attention, and I certainly never did anything in my life to warrant any sort of, higher intelligent groups to sit here and study my every move. My life is really that boring, okay? But, I do believe a lot of TIs are affected by local governments, and sadly, I believe a lot of local governments are also just as ignorant. A lot of governments, in my experience, I personally think that a lot of people are under the misconception that you can enforce religious views. And like I said, going back to I would say even before the 4th grade, everybody should know that is not the case. That is against the law. And it boggles my mind that so many people participated in this and put their jobs on the line and put their companies at risk. And the sad part about it is I personally feel as though I am never going to be vindicated, and no one's ever going to stand up for me and terminate the people who've done this to me. Now, I have experienced some terminations at one of my jobs before the last nightmare hellhole of a job that I had. They did terminate these individuals who were harassing me. However, I don't believe that the other people in the agencies were terminated. They should be. And you know, all the people who affected my life, nothing is going to happen to them. And it's a sad situation, even though they put their company at risk for serious lawsuits. That's not fair, okay? But I'm learning in this world, and I've always suspected people of being crap anyway, but I have always believed that people are evil, fundamentally evil. And my experience shows this. Everyday living shows you that, and even the Bible talks about the evils of humans. But anyway, I wanted to stay focused on the topic at hand. Local governments are often behind the psychological torment and torture of the targeted individual. What I mean by that is they might be somebody who might be in charge of the community, whether that be a mayor or maybe some other higher level government within your location could possibly be a part of it. Now, I'm not sure 100%, but I'm just saying it, and I think a lot of it has to do with ignorance. Okay, and the sad part is that if we live in a country that is that ignorant, or if people in general are that ignorant, we have a very big problem, because it seems as though targeted individuals are usually the ones who have the ability to think logically and clearly, and yet they're being attacked by people who are ignorant. And that's something that we need to think about. That's one piece of information that I think needs to be looked at closely. So I was thinking a lot of, I was actually watching a video. I didn't watch all of it, but they were talking a lot about synchronicity. There was a girl who was talking about synchronicity, and there was also an article I had read about TIs and synchronicity. And a lot of TIs are under the misconception that they are victims of some sort of mind control. Now, I do believe mind control takes place, but I don't believe that the synchronistic issues are external. What I mean by that is, well, they are external. They think that there's some sort of, that these people have the ability to read their minds. This is not the case. At least I don't believe it is. I believe that how this is being accomplished, and the reasons why they're dealing with so many synchronicities, is because their house is probably under surveillance, as well as their car, and they're running into people in town, whether they're shopping or whatever. And the weird part about mind control is I'm dealing with drones that really think that they can strike up conversations with you, and they're basically repeating everything that you said in your house. And I think that this is a part of the mind control. They're mind controlled, and they believe, or what they've heard or they overheard becomes a pattern in their mind, and they think that they can just spew it out. I don't think they even know what they're doing. They're just repeating what they heard through your house. And so when targeted individuals experience this, they think, well, that's, you know, are these people reading my mind? No. They're listening in on you. They could possibly be hacking your computer. They could possibly be putting your house under surveillance, your car under surveillance. So it's not synchronicity, okay? I'm not sure if I have read in the past where, you know, there's been experiments on what do you call it, artificial intelligence, where people can actually read your mind. I don't know much about that, okay? And it seems like an interesting topic to study. But in my experience, I believe it's just good old-fashioned surveillance. And the reason why people can get away with this nowadays is because of the technology. Technology, it's bittersweet. I mean, there's so many things that we can do with technology, but there's a lot of people who just want to inflict tyranny. And it's very easy to do that with all the technology that we have. And that's personally what I think it is. I think that it's a form of the surveillance that's actually taking place in your house and in your car. And these people know things about you that you probably, I just never really thought about talking that much about myself. And there really isn't any juicy details to tell people. But this is how I believe it's being accomplished. This study that I'd like to conduct, it's going to take some time. But, you know, and I don't really have a lot of viewers. You know, I'm just not one of those people who spend a lot of time making videos. And I really don't have a lot of the skills that I've seen other people who create videos. So I'm not getting a lot of hits, but, you know, it might take some time. If it takes me 10 years to get this information, I'm more than happy with that. But what I'd like to do is hear from other targeted individuals. I'd like to know about their locations. You know, I'd like to know, and then I can do my own study. You know, what kind of people are living in these areas? You know, is it a place where they value higher level thinking? I'm not talking about formalized education. I'm talking about people who value liberal thinking. And when I mean liberal, I'm not talking about, you know, deadheads or people who live unconventional lives to where they do things that are deviant. I'm talking about people who are highly intellectual, able to think on their own, and logical, who can think logically, and in an environment where that's encouraged. You know, is it more likely to be a targeted individual in a small town where people kind of follow tradition and they are not very knowledgeable about the world? That's what I highly suspect. I think a lot of it has to do with that. Or it could very well be that, you know, people really aren't as, I don't want to say the word educated, because a lot of people are educated nowadays. But what I'm saying is, are people not, of course, and then I would think about it, throughout history, this has always happened. People have always been sucked into mob psychology, and very few, a small percentage of people are able to not be affected by it. So I think I kind of answered my own question, but just to be sure, I would love to have this information, you know, supplied to me. I would love to be able to study this and really get into it, because, I mean, if it were up to me, I would stop. This, and I know there's laws on the books to prevent this from happening, or I shouldn't say prevent it from happening, but there are laws on the books that say that this is against the law, at least here in California. Now, but that doesn't seem to stop people from doing it, and the sad part is there's a lot of people who are ignorant of laws. But once again, the whole foundation of it starts with ignorance. It all starts with people not knowing, and not knowing that there are boundaries. And I know that a lot of it has to do with narcissism, and narcissists don't know boundaries, but they can push it far, and they continually push it far, especially when their enablers are helping them do it. And I believe some of these enablers could very well be parts of law enforcement who are just as ignorant. So what can companies do? Companies generally, targeted individuals, have often been people who are whistleblowers. Now, I had an issue with the previous employer. I didn't blow any whistles. The only thing that happened was I made a complaint to the owner and his wife that, you know, something was going on and I needed it to stop. It didn't stop, so I just left the company. I didn't go out and thrash their name. I didn't go out and do anything wrong, but it didn't matter because the nightmare continued on. And I am completely innocent, and I am so grateful that I'm going to raise my right hand. I am so grateful. You can't see this, but I am so grateful that I followed the law. I am so grateful that I followed the contract, because I know that I'm not guilty of any of this, and everything that's happened to me is not my fault. And so that's one thing about following rules. That's one thing about following laws, because you and I know that I'm blameless in this. But what can companies do to prevent this from happening to other people? First of all, you know, I think a lot of information that companies value, it's not that I don't think it's important, I just don't think that they're focusing on all of it. You know, I was telling Joel about how, you know, a lot of companies really emphasize, and they constantly push sexual harassment. And yeah, they act as though sexual harassment is the only harassment that takes place in the workplace. No, it's not. Okay, and these are outlined in a lot of the posters that a lot of companies are supposed to post up in their businesses. A lot of racial harassment goes on. Religious harassment goes on. and things that relate to, maybe somebody's sexuality and so on and so forth. All of these things are, to me, equally as important, and because there's not as much emphasis on them, people tend to ignore them. That's a big mistake. So, in my job, internal controls, keeping financial information away from people who have no business in seeing it is really important. And I personally think that all companies should initiate internal controls in their workplace for their employees. So, like for example, in an office where you have personnel files, generally there's a lock on those files. Now, sometimes if you work in like government accounting or whatever, sometimes whether they're AP or AR files, they're all locked because it's nobody's business. But definitely, employee files have to be protected from other people's view. So it's no one's business how much you make, any of your background, any of that should not be easily accessible. And, also, in my situation, family members or so-called friends shouldn't be able to just make phone calls and change your fate like that. And the reason why that's able to happen, because people are ignorant of the law. And so this is what I think should take place, and this could help eliminate some of the issue. Now, that's not going to eliminate gang stalking, but it will certainly eliminate anybody being responsible within a company. So that way that nobody can be, held accountable for a lawsuit because they didn't have anything to do with it. If somebody calls up and you're a professional and so you say, hey, you know what, so-and-so Maria, she wore different color makeup when she was 17 years old. Make sure she can't ever do this, and this again. And somebody's on the other line and they just take that phone call? No doctor's review, no legal paperwork. When something like that happens, I believe it's called a conservatorship. A conservatorship gives people the legal right to make those decisions for you. Like, for example, if I'm in a position where I can't make up my own mind or I can't do anything for you, then somebody has to be my conservator. Somebody has to have the legal right to make those decisions for me. And it's not something that can be done behind my back. It's against the law. Can't be done. Unless, of course, you can show that I'm actually crazy, which I'm not crazy and I'm not slow. The very fact that many people have jobs and I don't is just mind-boggling to me, because I'm the hardest working person and I go above and beyond what I'm supposed to do. I'm far more enthusiastic, and I'm not putting other people down. But I'm just saying is I understand the inner working of a business, and I understand not just to protect the assets of the company, but I also understand it's important to protect the employees of the companies. And if other companies did this, then this would help eliminate a lot of the gang stalking. And then also, as far as workplace mobbing is concerned, which is a part of the gang stalking, it's usually the beginning of the gang stalking, people as leaders in companies need to be responsible for what they say and do. You've heard the term monkey see, monkey do. It's true. People really are that impressionable. So my days are spent, wondering, what exactly is this all about? How do I fix this? And the only thing I can do is try to inform people of the laws and just wait it out and hope for the best. I am so tired. I've been out of work for almost a year now. I have been treated like shit, basically, by people who don't even know me, but they're more than willing to treat me as if I'm the scum of the earth. And I find this really funny, only because, I've lost a lot of respect for a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people. And I'm taking a lot of my business online, because even though, there's people who know that I'm innocent, it has affected my ability to interact with people that I used to know. I went to a place just recently, I used to go there all the time, and, they treated me like, they felt guilty. I know they felt guilty, because I know that I didn't do anything, but at the same time, it's created such a rift and so much animosity, they just don't know what to say anymore. So once a person's life or something like this happens, things can never really go back to the way that they used to be. And all I can do is go on. But, somebody damaged my reputation. I know who it was. There was a bunch of people involved in all this. But I'm just letting people know, my life has changed forever. My life is never going to be the same ever again for something I didn't do. Now, you know, I did something a long time ago, you know, and I fudged my racial background. So what? Okay, that's between me and my partner, okay, and that's a domestic issue. Well, I'm suspecting that could have something to do with it. Other than that, I really can't understand why my siblings would think that I shouldn't have the right to take care of myself. This has been going on for quite a while. When I think about it, it's probably been going on for at least 8 years, maybe even longer than that. And so basically, I've been kept down, you know, on an economic level. I have not been able to buy a home, to do the things that many other people are able to do, basically because of this evil bitch, you know, which I never really want to see ever again. And people let it happen. They let it happen, and that is the most devastating part. Even though you've proven that you come to work on time, even though you've proven that you do the best job you possibly can, it doesn't seem to matter, you know. But anyway, I'm getting off subject. This is my interest, you know, so if you watch this video and you were a targeted individual, please send me, you know, you can send me a private letter, just say, hey, I'm so-and-so, I'm from this particular location, and, you know, I can do the research myself. I can start studying, you know, the demographics of your area, and I'm trying to draw my own conclusions. You know, I haven't really found any information that confirms my suspicions or my theories, and so it would be nice for me to conduct an experiment on my own. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video. I've got dinner to make, and I'm hoping to get back to work soon. I keep my fingers, my toes crossed, everything I can possibly do. I'm doing everything I can to get my life back in order, but my life has changed. I mean, my life is never going to be the same again. And, you know, and it certainly has changed the way I see things. And it's really sad because, you know, we live in a very evil world. We live in a topsy-turvy world. We live in a world where people who really don't give a shit are rewarded, and people who work hard get nothing. And that's pretty much how the system is going. And I mean, our country is in very, very bad shape. So anyway, I'm going to leave you with that thought. And if you watch this video and you're a targeted individual, I'd love to hear from you. Send me an email and take care. Bye-bye.